Greetings, friends, and welcome back to the 3-Minute Horror Show. My name is Ben, your host, and I love horror movies. In fact, I watch the bad movies so that you don't have to. You're welcome. Look, I'm wearing my own merch today.
What?
Today I'll be reviewing the movie Lumberjack the Monster from 2023. A high-powered attorney is attacked in an underground parking garage, and he ends up learning something new about himself that undermines his entire self-identity.
Wow.
This movie was directed by Takashi Miike, who is an underground cinema legend. This is the guy who directed Audition, Itchy the Killer, and 13 Assassins, amongst countless other bangers. Lumberjack the Monster can be streamed here in Canada on Netflix, and that's one we don't hear too often. We start off at some point in the past. The home of a couple suspected of the large-scale abduction of children in the area's mansion is being raided by the police. The cops find a child with a surgical bandage on his head in the basement in a makeshift operating room, and Midori Toma, who is the wife and the kidnapper, threatens to kill him with a scalpel. One officer, who had been investigating other rooms in the basement, delivers the news that they found dozens of children's bodies, and Toma takes the scalpel to herself in response. In typical Takashi Miike fashion, the blood fountains from her neck, and that's a pattern that repeats throughout the movie. Jump forward now to the present, and a young, sharply dressed man is being pursued by a car. After a brief chase, his pursuer gets into an accident, and the young man ends this guy's life with a piece of glass. Crazy. This is Akira Ninomiya, and he is a lawyer, a psychopath, and our main character. I'm going to fanboy over Takashi Miike here a little bit because his movies are fantastic. Takashi Miike was born in Osaka in 1960. At age 18, he went to film school in Yokohama, and if we can believe what we read on the internet, he was not a very diligent student. He started off making direct-to-video projects, which are typically a little sleazier, or they tend to let the filmmaker get away with a little more than they would with a theatrical release. His big theatrical breakthrough in Japan was a movie called Shinjuku Triad Society in 1995. His big Western breakthrough came a little while after that in 1999 with a movie you may have heard of called Audition. And people are always asking me in a whisper, "Hey, have you seen that movie Audition?" Yes, I've seen the movie Audition. And it was only upwards from there, as release after release, Miike solidified himself as a master of extreme horror. Until his later career. Nowadays, Miike is still making movies and television, but he's opened it up to a much wider audience. He did the live-action version of the Ace Attorney video game series, as well as the JoJo's Bizarre Adventure manga. Akira knows he is a psychopath, as does his brother, Sugatani, who is a young doctor that runs a nearby hospital. They grew up together in the same orphanage and recognized the same qualities in each other as they grew up. Akira is willing to do whatever and hurt whomever it takes to satisfy his ambition, and Sugatani is willing to perform experiments on the living and the dead in order to further his medical research. After one of their meetings, Akira is attacked in the hospital's parking garage by a figure dressed in leathers. His attacker is wearing a horrific mask and wielding an axe. He manages to fend off his attacker, but he sustains a head injury in the process. I'd be stupid not to do a haiku time during the review of a Japanese film, wouldn't I? Haiku time. Children were kidnapped. To create new psychopaths. Seems like too much work. That was haiku time, thank you very much. While going through standard medical tests afterwards, Akira is informed that he has a neurochip implanted in his brain, and that it was damaged in the attack. The young lawyer doesn't know why it's there, how it got there, but the hospital staff informs him that these things were used for behavioral control in the past. They were banned several years ago, though. Akira is going to have a hard time finding someone to fix it, if that's even possible at all. Does his attack have anything to do with the serial killer who is targeting local degenerates and removing their brains? It just might. I can't say more without spoiling the story, though, and I do think you should watch this one. I wasn't sure what to expect when going into this movie, and honestly, I thought Miike had retired from directing. This ended up being quite an engrossing story, and it had twists that I could never have seen coming. The ending was satisfying too, and that's important. Initially at the time, I think I was a little disappointed with that ending, but reflecting upon it, I don't think it could have ended any other way.
You right.
The effects were great, and the cinematography and shots were gorgeous. I don't speak the language, so I can't gauge things like nuances in vocal delivery or anything like that, but it did seem like the cast were delivering solid performances. And the guy who played Akira was serving looks through the whole thing.
Duh.
I loved it. I rate Lumberjack the Monster an 8 out of 10. As always, a link to my Letterboxd appears in the video's description. Please leave me a like, comment, and subscribe as it really does boost my engagement and helps my channel grow. Smell you later, nerds!